All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Catholic Talk Show. Today, we are trying and talking about Trappist beers.
Yeah, we're going to look at why Trappist monks brew some of the very best beers in the world, the history behind it, the different variations, and some of the nuances that make Trappist beers one of the most famous types of beers in the entire world.
So let's crack a couple of cold ones and get the show going. Woo!
All right, great to be back in the studio with you boys. Ryan Shield, Father Rich Pagano. Hello, hello.
Always.
Boys, how are you?
This is great, man.
Yes.
This is awesome.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Trappist beers. We're going to be drinking some Trappist beers, and then at the end of the show, we're going to see if Father Rich knows what the difference is between a Trappist beer and a fake one.
Yeah, and we're going to drink some of these. We're going to rate them. We're going to let you know which ones we think are the best. And we're going to get into the history of the Trappists and how they started brewing beers, the distinction between all of them, and hopefully enjoy a couple beers. And maybe you guys can go out and find these yourselves and drink along with us.
Now, we do these shows all the time, and the Inquisition is one of the most important parts of the show.
Listen, don't give it away. Don't give it away.
I'm a little nervous about this because I have a feeling that there's going to be consequences.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to like this.
The consequences are sitting right here in front of me. And
they're actually in front of me.
You should definitely watch this show.
So the worst thing that happened.
So for our audience, for the people that are only listening in, this might be something that you want to watch.
It's the second worst thing that happened to John the Baptist. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
So it's
Spoiler
less
alert.
bad than getting your head cut off, but beyond that, probably about the second worst thing.
Okay.
So before we get into cracking these beers open and drinking them and reviewing them, why don't you tell everyone where they can find us?
So crack into the internet and then pull us up on CatholicTalkShow.com. Check with us on all of our social media platforms. We want to interact with you on there. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as patreon.com/The Catholic Talk Show. That's a way that you could support us and help us continue to develop the show and reach more audiences as we continue to move into this new year of we're almost at a new year of our show. So this is pretty exciting times. And most especially, my friends, let's continue to pray and continue to get closer in the spirit. And what a wonderful way to just kind of socialize and crack a couple cold ones. So if you're listening right now and it's in the morning, maybe you want to put it on pause, come home after a long day of work,
Enjoy a beer
with us.
Or day drink with us. That's fun too.
No, don't day drink with us.
Don't drink,
especially
don't
not on the hours of your, in place of employment.
Just don't drink and drive.
Don't drink. That's a good point. No
Drink
drinking and
responsibly.
driving.
Drink responsibly. So yeah, today we're talking about Trappist beers and what makes a beer Trappist. What is Trappist? Now, the Trappists are a Catholic religious order. They sprang out of the Benedictine movement, and the real name of the Trappists, or their official name, is the Order of the Cistercians of the Strict Observance of the Rule of St. Benedict.
So, in a sense of the Benedictine movement, it's really the founder of monasticism. So
absolutely,
the strict order of monasticism is really a way of life that is pretty austere.
It is. So one of the things that is the hallmark of the Trappists and what make them of the strict observance, right, is that according to the Rule of St. Benedict, it was ora et labora, work and pray, right?
Prayer.
And these communities really were designed to be able to be self-sufficient, to be able to sustain themselves through the work of their own hands so that they could have a community to where when they were done working, they were able to pray. They would work and pray. So the Trappists really developed a reputation in their monasteries for creating really excellent goods, whether it was cheese, whether it was wine, whether it was beer, whether it was soap, whatever.
Cake.
The Trappists up in Massachusetts, they do beer and they do jelly. And I mean, the jelly's freaking amazing, right?
It's good. They put it on the fruit
jelly.
cake.
They put it on the fruitcake. So the Trappists, where they get their name from is from the original.
Will you stop it, Father Rich?
You and the fruitcake. I'm
They
sorry.
make fruitcake. I've had some
I'm sorry.
fruitcake
They do,
from
it's
Trappist
good.
monks. What's the matter
I
with
can
you?
imagine, but your emphasis of the fruitcake, Ryan.
You missed it. I put it in there.
Okay.
So anyway, they get their name from the Abbey of La Trappe, which is in France. And from there, they all went out. So that's where the Trappists come from.
There's a
we
beer
have
called
a Trap. We have a
The
Trap
Trap
beer
is
here.
one of the
It's
beers.
not here.
We don't have that
I don't
one.
think we have.
Oh, okay.
So we had a hard time finding a lot of
we
these
did.
beers,
We
but
did.
there's actually a whole categorization of what is known as Trappist beers, right?
And from what I learned today, there's actually a stamp
Absolutely.
that's associated with an authentic Trappist beer.
Right. So there's a lot of what are called Trappist style beers or Belgian beers. You'll hear double or triple or even quadruple style beers. And those will generally be
Is that like a
marketed-
double IPA or a triple IPA?
Not really.
Like
So
an intense amount of alcohol or
No, so the tradition of brewing in the monasteries was originally a lot of brewing was just made for self-sustenance, right? Because when you were brewing beer, at the time you really couldn't drink the water from the local water supplies because this was before proper sanitation, and if you drink the water and you get dysentery and died, you know, you just couldn't just go out and drink water, right? There was no taps, there was no public water filtration systems. So you had to find ways to be able to make the water potable. And a lot of times the best way to do that was to boil it. And to also give it nutrition, they would take, the grains and ferment them and boil it and they'd start making beer. It was a way to be able to hydrate themselves and give themselves a lot of nourishment from the wheat that was grown around the monasteries. So what they started doing is they were developing their own beer for their own sustenance, and they got good at it. And then as travelers would come to the monastery, they would offer beer because one of the hallmarks of Benedictine spirituality is hospitality to travelers and to people who are your guests. So they would have better beer for the people who are coming to visit them. And people are like, wow, this is amazing beer. And they started going back to the monasteries, and monasteries ended up starting to be the suppliers of beer. So that's really where the tradition of brewing in Trappist monasteries come from. Now, the reason that there's double, triple, and quadruples is that they would make beers of varying strength, right? So a single or a double would be usually less alcohol content, and that would be reserved for the monks themselves, whereas a triple or quadruple would have more alcohol in it, and it would be typically a beer of a higher quality, which would be given to the guests, right? But that's backwards, though. See, the thing is that the words double and triple come from how many times, like, how there's like
triple distilled,
extra virgin olive oil, and then there's olive oil, and there's virgin olive oil, right? It's how many times the grape has been pressed. Same thing with running water through the mash when you're making beer. You can take the same mash and run the water through it again and brew a whole nother process. And that would be your second run or your double, or a third time would be your triple run. But eventually the terms got flip-flopped and triple and quadruples were better and the singles and doubles were worse, when originally it would have been the opposite way around.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I know a lot about a beer.
So when are we going to drink it?
So
I spent a little bit of time with the Benedictine monks in Norcia, the birthplace of St. Benedict and St. Scholastica. And the rhythm of life that they have is one that is truly rooted in prayer and work. And from the very moment that they wake up, you enter into prayer and then you begin your workday, really. And then there's moments where you break for food. But the rhythm that you enter into, it's really fascinating. And I could see how it's an appealing way to live your life, because you start entering into this kind of routine. We feel like, you enter into a routine, work days are Monday through Friday, these certain hours. And then when you get off TGIF, thank God it's Friday, and you have like hump day. You have all these different things that kind of help you in your rhythm. But when you break it down to the fundamentals of what the monastic way of life accomplishes, the prayer and the work are so satisfying, especially when you're working with your hands and related to what, the monks are accomplishing day in and day out for the sake of community. When you enter into that, you can live in silence and really retrieve a sense of joy. And that's, I only spent a little bit of time with them, but entering into their way of life, it brought a lot of peace into my heart. It was very, very special.
Yeah. So one of the things that the Trappists would do is that there's a lot of Trappist monasteries. Now, not all of them brew Trappist beer. And after the beer started growing in popularity, a lot of people who were brewers of similar style beers would say, we brew a Trappist style beer. And it was confusing the marketplace. And eventually there was a lawsuit in 1962. The Trappist actual monasteries brought lawsuits against all of the breweries who are making what they called Trappist beers. Fakers. Right?
Interesting.
So that they could no longer call them Trappist. They had to call them Belgian style or strong or
Trappist inspired.
Yeah, they couldn't ever call them Trappist. So 8 Trappist monasteries that were producing beer. So there's 6 of them in Belgium, 1 in the Netherlands and 1 in Germany. They came together and they created the ITA, or the International Trappist Association. And that was an organization that said anything that is authentically made by Trappists has to have this seal.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll know that this is actually made by monks, and it's of the standard qualities dictated by it. Now, for any monastery to have this label, the beer or the cheese or the jelly has to be produced within the walls of a Trappist monastery. And it has to have been actually made or the production supervised by actual monks.
Yep.
So they can't outsource it. It has to be the fruit of the monks' own work with inside the walls of their monastery. Because there's actually monasteries that brew beer, but they brew it off location and they can't get that signed. They can't be a Trappist.
Huh. Yeah.
Because it has to be within the monastic walls of the community.
Wow.
Now, quality-wise, is there variation?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So the
And
second,
you're going to tell us if you can detect it.
right now, the second rule is that the brewery must be of secondary importance, and it has to be, the business practices have to be commensurate with the way of monastic life. So they can never be so successful at brewing that it overtakes their spiritual life. That's the second rule, to be able to get that. The third is that the brewery cannot make profits.
Huh.
The money is used for the upkeep of the monastery and the monks. Any of the excess money that doesn't support the monks or upkeep their monastery is then donated to the order's charitable causes. And the fourth rule is that the quality of beer has to be awesome.
Mm.
And it's up to quality monitoring, where the others will say this beer is up to our standards or it's not. So, I mean,
that's the ITA.
Yep. This is a really excellently crafted beer with ethical purposes, from like responsibly sourced waters and grains that donate money. I mean, this, look, if you're going to drink beer, this is the beer you should be drinking because it supports causes, it supports monks. It's, it supports local communities. It supports charities. It's a really cool thing. So when I first learned about these, I was like, well, I'd rather be drinking this than something that is just going to some big conglomeration who could care less about, you know, the values of that I believe in.
Well, you know, I've got to show this to the community here. So this right here.
So Father Rich is showing that steel right there on that bottle. If you see that on a bottle, you know that it is produced by the ITA. It is actually produced according to those 4 rules, right? That it's actually produced by the hands of monks inside the walls of the Trappist monastery, all of those things. So look for that seal on there.
And you won't see it often. There's not a ton of beers.
There's
that are
not.
And that's where I kept on getting into trouble with Ryan Shield today when we were going shopping, because I kept on grabbing all of these, presumably like these Trappist beers.
Yeah,
and
they'll have names like Saint so-and-so or
Saint Arnold. I kept on trying to sell you on the Saint Arnold.
Yeah, and
you weren't having it.
You know how much a stickler I am.
You are a pretty big stickler.
I am.
He said no a dozen times.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I say no.
You just say no.
I do. So here's some of the monasteries and some of the beers you can look for, and I'll post a list of all of these on there. There's Akel, there's Chimay, there's Gregorius, there's La Trappe, there's Orval, Spencer, which is the first one actually to be an ITA in the United States. It's St. Joseph's Monastery in Massachusetts, and they also do jelly. And dude, I go out of my way. My daughter, like, we will go, and it takes like an hour because there's one little shop in Amish country that carries it. And like a couple times a year, we'll go out there and buy a bunch of jelly because that's the only jelly we eat because it's that good.
Wow.
There's Trappist Rochefort. There's Trefontaine, Westmalle, Zundert. And then there's this other one. I can't quite pronounce it. I've tried. It's the best I can come with is Westmalle. It was voted the best beer in the world.
Wow.
And you cannot buy it. You have to order it. You have to call the monastery and say, I would like to buy 6 beers. And maybe they'll get back to you. You'll show up and they're like, here's your 6 beers. You can only buy 6 beers at a time. They only ever brew it when they need money. Like, so they only release it to the public in a wide scale when they need money. So like 5 years ago, their roof was caving in. So they released like 20,000 bottles of it worldwide and raised enough money to replace the roof. And then they just went back to, you have to pick it up at their monastery.
Wow.
And it was voted the best beer in the entire world.
We've got to get that name down.
Right. Westervelen. I don't know. It comes from Pope Saint Sixtus. So let's crack it. Let's crack into some of these beers here. Let's talk about them. So before we actually drink them, give me this one over here.
The Chimay?
No. I want the Orval. Yeah. So Orval is one of the Trappist beers, right? And can you guys take a look at this logo?
Can't see it. Is that a goose?
No, it's a fish with a gold ring in its mouth.
Really? Let me see that again.
That's from the lady from the well, right?
Right. I told you the story. So,
yeah.
I can see that.
Long time ago, there was a woman who was traveling, and you bringing it to the camera?
Yeah.
All right. So this woman was traveling. She was a widow, and she was going to a well to be able to get something to drink while she was traveling, and her wedding ring had fallen off into the well. And she prayed to God because, she was recently widowed. It's not really showing up that well.
Yeah,
there you go. Okay, cool. You got it. So she prayed to God that she get this ring back, and she drew the bucket up from the well, and in the bucket was a fish with the ring in its mouth. And she was so grateful to God that she right there on the spot said, "This is truly a Val d'Or," which means a golden valley. So Val d'Or, Orval, the Golden Valley.
Cool.
And
how long ago was this?
Long time ago. 700-800 thousand years ago. And so on the spot, as thankfulness to God for getting her wedding ring back, she bought the land, donated it to the Trappists. They built the monastery there, and they still make the beer for Orval from the same spring of that water, of that well where the woman found her ring. So that's where this beer comes from in the logo.
Oh, wow.
Orval.
That's a tradition there.
That is.
So Delacroix, why don't we crack that baby open?
Well,
you got it.
Problem. We didn't bring a bottle opener.
Oh.
Well, so let me see. I could either do it with my wedding ring. Let's see.
Wow.
Look at that.
There you go.
That just looked painful.
I broke mine doing that.
Walter Schultz taught me how to do that.
Seriously?
Huh?
Walter Schultz taught me how to do that.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
All right, so
an Irish woman taught me how to do that.
So what's the next beer that you wanna cover here?
Well,
I'll be happy to grab it.
Let's drink this first, and let's give it a little bit of a rating. Let's go with
the Chimay.
Well, let's go with.
I think I got a lot of foam here.
Oh my gosh, I have a whole.
Let's go with a 1 to 10 scale. We'll rate each one.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're beer connoisseurs and people love our ratings, and you should too.
Yeah, they absolutely should.
Are you stirring it with your finger?
Well, no, there's a lot of foam here.
I didn't know if I was. Ooh, that's good.
That is tasty.
Wow.
All right, boys. Bottoms up.
So,
Nastavia. Orval.
All
right.
I'm getting a lot of foam here. Hey, look at my face.
Dude, you got it on your nose.
All right, man.
Ooh, that's tasty.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's very, very good.
Very dark, very sweet, kind of. I know that I've brewed Belgian style beers before, and you use candy sugar instead of regular, molasses or sugar or anything to get the
that's really good.
The fermentation process going.
Very good beer.
So sometimes when you get a stout, it's like really, really dark
Rich.
and bold and rich, and it's intense to drink. It's smooth.
This has
it has sweetness to it.
It has bubblegum notes. It really does.
I don't know about bubblegum.
Yeah,
yeah,
I could see that. But like what you were saying, Father Rich, is it's not very heavy.
It's not heavy. It's almost like it's not a light beer. It's packed with flavor, but it hits your palate, and as you're drinking it, it's like, oh, this is kind of refreshing almost.
Yeah.
Really
I'm
good.
there.
You digging it?
Are you with me on that, Delacroix?
Mm-hmm. That's good.
All right, so I'm gonna get my notepad out.
What are we drinking next? This is exciting.
We gotta rate it.
Oh,
so Scale of 1 to 10.
I would say I would definitely give that like an 8.5 in my rating.
I'm at 8. Yeah,
I do 8.5.
I'm at 8, just reserving because I don't know.
I've never had this before. This is a great experience. I've never done Trappist beers. I've had Chimay, but other than that, I've
this
had
is Orval.
Orval. Yeah,
Orval's one of my very
highly
favorites.
recommend it.
Yeah.
I'm actually going for the bottom of this thing. I got so much foam in mine. It was.
I know mine was all head.
Are they all like that when you pour them?
A lot of them, because of the way that the style of their brewery, a lot of them are bottle conditioned.
Gotcha.
So they're going to have more foam when you pour them. They're going to have a lot of sediment in the bottom.
That was tasty.
I'm going to go.
What are you giving them? See, but you've done all of these before.
Too many times. So I'm going to say, just from past experience, I'm going to say on a scale of 1 to 10, and with my past experience of Trappist, I'm going to give it an 8. Okay. It's really one of my very favorite beers of all time.
It was delicious. Very smooth.
Orval.
Very refreshing.
All right, what do you want to do next? Chimay's open right now.
Let's talk about Chimay then.
Okay, great.
Because they make a lot of different beers.
They make,
they make 3 or 4.
4 beers.
Yeah.
So they make the Cinque Cents, they make the Grand Reserve, they make the white and the red.
White and the red, yep.
They make white, red, yellow, and this.
And it's delicious. It's more of a maltier flavor.
Yeah, it's really such an excellent beer. Now, Chimay is probably the largest of the Trappist brewers. They produce the most bottles. They produce the most volume of beer.
Yeah, you see them everywhere.
Right, everywhere. And ostensibly, they're the first one to really be known as a Trappist, as a Trappist beer.
Oh, geez.
They're in Scormont Abbey in Chimay, Belgium, right? So that's where they get their name from. And they sell over $50 million of beer a year.
And this is just to keep their abbey up?
Well, but then the
they
money
donate it.
They donate the rest.
So they're donating a lot of money out.
Absolutely.
This is the Grand Reserve Ale that we're having.
Yep. And another thing that they do, which is really excellent, if you ever find it, some grocery stores will have it, is Chimay cheese. Now, they make cheese, and this cheese is awesome.
Cool.
And the water that they use to make the beer is drawn from the wells inside the monastery. When they are done using the mash from the beer, the grains, and when it's been filtered, do you know what they do with it?
Season the cheese.
They feed it to the cows.
Oh, man.
To produce the cheese. So, I mean, it really
is. Father Rich.
It is.
Quit laughing at me.
So it really does have that concept of a really deep, harmonious, and useful nature of all their resources.
Yeah.
So Chimay really got very big, but then they were in Belgium, right? And we all know what happened during the 1940s in Belgium.
War.
The Nazis, right? Mm-hmm. And the Nazis, not only were they just terrible people, they also were villains against beer because they ruined the monastery. They occupied it and destroyed it. So after the war, the monks were able to go back in and start rebuilding it. But they had a problem. Their beer was coming out really bad, right? Because they hadn't used the equipment in 5-6 years. And the beer was coming out terribly. And no matter what they did, they could not get the pre-war recipe to work again. Wow. Because beer requires yeast. And this is the 1940s. You can't just go to the store and buy yeast, right? So their beer was coming out ropey. And basically, their beer had an infection because the yeast was no longer good. So one of their priests, Father Theodore, he was a master brewer, and he was a chemist, and he worked with another gentleman who was a chemist and master brewer, Jean de Clercq. And they were able to develop a new strain of yeast that is proprietary to Chimay Abbey. They're the only ones who have actually developed, maintained, and cultured this yeast. And it's the only that they use it for their beer, and that's what gives their beer that distinct taste.
Let's have a try.
All right. Father
Salty.
Theodore, good work. Thank you. Let's see what it's like.
Very, very like malt, like caramely.
Yeah, I definitely taste the tones of caramel and more of like a bold, richer kind of overtone.
Not as light as the Orval.
Yeah.
Not as
nearly
light.
as light.
No.
But not really super heavy either.
No, this one I think has a more spicier.
Like oaky, spicy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and just for all the listeners, like, don't take our word for it. We're not beer connoisseurs. So if we say oaky, it might be like bubble gum. You never know.
So yeah, Chimay, I love it. The cheese is great. The Abbey's great. It really does a lot to promote. Look, I think we even got where's our sign? Right there.
Oh yeah, we do.
We have
triple
our own
orange drop.
Yeah, there you go. Right behind Father Rich. That's their vintage logo.
Bam. All right. Well,
All right, let's bottoms up. Let's
Bottoms
finish these,
up.
and then
We
you
gotta
guys can
finish
start
them.
your ratings.
okay. I'm going to give this a 7.5. The Orval was,
Really?
Yeah, the Orval was delicious.
it was, and it depends on what you like, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
These
I
are
like
arbitrary. These are arbitrary. You guys
yeah,
can say whatever you want.
7.5.
Hmm.
I'm good on that.
I would still give this an 8. I mean, it's a very, very good beer. This is the only one that I have had in the past, so it's definitely one of my favorite type of beers. So I
I
probably
will
give
tell
it an
you
8.
that there's another Chimay beer that I like a lot more than this Grand Reserve.
This I love the Grand Reserve. So every Christmas, every Easter, any birthday, when we have a party, I bring Chimay Grand Reserve. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 9.5. This is my favorite beer.
This is your favorite
It's
beer
my
of all
favorite
time.
beer. I love this.
Too grainy
Yeah.
for me.
You're too grainy for me, Ryan.
There's going to be a fist fight at the end of this show after all these beers.
So what do we have next?
All right, so next we're going to go to Westmalle. Now, Westmalle is an excellent beer. You guys are in for a treat.
Never heard of it.
Now, Westmalle was actually the first brewery to produce what is known as the triple, and that was in 1934.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
They were the first one to create a beer known as a triple, and it was because it was the third beer they started brewing. But the Westmalle Abbey was founded on June 6, 1794. They've been around a little bit.
Wow.
And
were they brewing
comparatively
before that?
Yeah, comparatively speaking, like when was Chimay and Orval founded?
Orval's really old.
Okay.
Chimay's very old too. I have the dates for them and all that, and I'll make sure I put some links to some of the history for each of these. But going through the history of 12 different monasteries, it would be a
that's
little
gonna
bit
be tough,
laborious.
Yeah.
There'd be so many episodes my wife would really consider sending me out of the house. Give me your drink. I'm pouring. There you go.
He probably wants a tip too.
I'm not giving you anything, Delacroix.
This looks like a dark beer, though.
It is.
Yeah.
So their first beer was brewed on August 1st, 1836, but it was first drank on December 10th, 1836. That was their first beer. It's described as light in
so these
alcohol
are
and
kind
rather
of
sweet.
newbies.
Well, it's still, we're pushing 200 years old. That's not very new,
In
right?
Europe, it is.
Wow. So
Oh, this is interesting.
the one that we're drinking here, the double, this was first brewed in 1926. They have 22 monks on the staff inside of the brewery, and they produce a lot of beers, but they're not one of the bigger ones. But they produce 3 beers. Now they make a single, a double, and a triple, right? And they're the first ones to create what's called as a triple, and they did that because they wanted to base the beers on the Holy Trinity. They wanted to have 3 beers. A lot of other ones do a quadruple and they have multiple variations. They stick to 3 beers because they want to brew, in regards to the Blessed Trinity.
In reverence.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and one of the other things that's pretty cool about Westmalle is that they will put a little bit of sugar and yeast after it's been brewed in the bottle and then seal it up to get that bottle conditioning.
Huh.
Now, most of the time, you just take the beer, you pour it in a bottle, and stamp
Seal it, and then
that's it.
and send it.
But they brew it, they ferment it, everything, they age it, put it in the bottles, and they put just a little yeast and a little sugar in the bottle at the end.
Wow.
So,
Well, I'll tell you right away when this beer hits my palate, it just comes to life right on my palate. Like
Yeah.
the flavor hits me immediately.
Yeah.
The finish isn't as strong as like
yeah, it is a much lighter finish.
it's
That's
a
crazy.
lighter
Yeah.
finish, but the flavor
Big
hits you
flavor.
like right off the bat.
Well said.
Yeah,
Well
I
said.
know. I think this one tastes more like Chimay than it does like Orval.
I agree.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it doesn't. But
I
it
agree.
has a little bit more of a, I guess, nuanced character. Maybe a little bit more delicate nature to it.
It does.
So this Orval, is this a double, triple, anything like that?
No, it doesn't. No, it's just Orval.
Okay.
That's still actually my favorite. That's still actually my favorite beer.
It's a different beer.
Orval.
Like Orval is a completely different beer. Like
So
you can't
far.
even like you would have to have almost a preference of
Right.
Yeah.
beer to rate one over the other.
Mhm.
You know, the Orval just ruined the whole thing for me because this is very much like a Chimay.
Well, Westmalle, another thing that's pretty cool is that it's brewed at, the monastery is named after the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Oh wow.
And so when you're drinking
What,
beers,
Orval is?
no,
Oh,
Westmalle.
Westmalle. Okay.
When you're drinking a beer, you go into the store and you can buy any beer that you want. I mean, when you can buy a beer that supports monks, it supports vocations, it supports charity. It's brewed at a place called after the Sacred Heart of Jesus. I mean,
Cool. That's pretty cool.
you know, why would you get some other brand if you can afford it? I mean, it's worth it.
And especially, you know, I think
it's incredibly
but
high
it's
quality.
not
beer.
slug beer either.
And let me
You
say
don't
this
slug
though
'em.
too, because a lot of impression that I've had over the years with Trappist beers have been that they're like super heavy and dark and stout like. And already like this beer that we're just drinking right now, this Westmalle is definitely like, it feels like a lighter beer, but it packs really a strong flavor.
It's coming in at 7% or something like that too. You know, like a lot of these IPAs, like a lot of the hoppier beers, which are very popular.
7% alcohol by volume.
There you go. Most of them come in there. The Rochefort is a little bit higher, but the flavor, like the hoppy flavor, kind of gets cheapened by like citrus or pine or all these stuff that they throw in there.
I love strong IPAs.
I do too.
love bitter IPAs.
I do too.
But this is a different thing.
It's almost like drinking a bourbon.
If you've blown your palate out with IPAs, and you know, because a lot of times an IPA,
want something different,
it can really just blow your palate out, and you're just like, this is too much.
Yeah.
You drink these. I mean, this is not something that you're going out and doing beer bongs with. This is something that's much more refined. I think it's something that's much more.
Wait, you do beer bongs?
You don't?
No.
What is a beer bong? I don't even know.
Oh, shut up. You don't know what a beer bong is?
So what beer are we going to next?
All right. So,
I like this one though.
All right. Well, we got to give our ratings.
So for me,
I'd like to move my Orval up to a 9.
I'm feeling the same way you
I'm going
are,
to move it up to a
Delacroix.
9.
Yeah.
I'm going to move this to a 8.5, and then I'm moving Chimay down to an 8. So I'm kind of ranking them.
And I'm going to stick with what I've rated so far, but I'm going to rate this one at an 8.25.
Are you calling me complicated?
Yeah, you complicate things, Ryan. Okay, Ryan.
Let me see what I'm going to rate this as.
By the way, we have something very exciting coming after this beer.
I really like this one. This is, I think, more Chimay.
We've got 2 beers before something exciting, right?
No, we got 1 beer before something exciting, and then you're going to do a taste test to see what is a real Trappist beer and what is a fake one.
And this is the Inquisition.
It is.
Right,
And,
your butt's on camera the whole time. Why don't you get a beer or sit down?
no, I'm just.
This one's going out to
we can go on that
all the
other
Jen
frame.
Delacrosses out there.
This is going out to all the Jen Delacrosses.
So I'm going to give Westmalle. I'm going to give this one. I actually preferred this.
That's the only woman interested in your rear end, Ryan.
I'm going to give this one an 8. I mean, I really like this one. Oh, you guys are encouraging. I'm giving it an 8.
You really like it. You're giving it an 8. You did the 9 on the Chimay.
Yeah, but still, your Chimay is that.
That's what I like.
It sounds like you've already made up your mind.
I haven't, though.
Topic changing to Trappist.
Rochefort.
Trappistes Rochefort.
Is there anything up here that you haven't had?
No.
No, I've had all.
So-
I haven't had everything except for the Orval.
I haven't had anything
All right,
except
so
for Chimay.
since we haven't touched on it, I'm going to tell you all the Trappist beers, right?
Okay.
There is Akel. There is Chimay. There is Gregorius. There's Le Trappe, which is named after the order. There's Orval. There's Spencer, which is the first one brewed in America. That's brewed in Massachusetts. You should be able to find that one here. There's Trefontaine. There's Westmalle, Zundert, and Westerville. And I think I actually did say this, but we couldn't find all of them. A lot of these are really hard to find. There's some websites that you can order them on. There's a really cool website actually out of Cleveland. It's called Monastery Greetings.
What?
Right. So Monastery Greetings, they are a clearinghouse, basically a mail catalog for anything produced by monasteries.
Oh, cool.
So free plug for you guys for Monastery Greetings. But if you're looking for gifts, they have cookies and breads and cheeses and beers and crosses and anything.
Fruitcake.
Everything, fruitcake. Anything produced by monastery, they sell it on this website. So go check them out. Great company, good dude. They support all these monasteries and religious orders. So
very nice, very nice. This is
that's all you gave him?
Well, I'm
like half full here.
Okay, like, come on, guys.
You know what? You know what? The monks in Indiana, they actually make caskets, and I've always wanted.
Actually, that's a client of ours.
Oh, really?
Trappist caskets. Yeah,
I really want to have a casket like that.
Well, keep it up, and you're going to.
You gotta buy one.
Keep it up, and
so Trappist caskets, they produce their caskets by hand. They source the lumber from their grounds of their own
like chocolate,
so
bro.
Good.
I'm talking about caskets, and you guys are blown away.
We
by
just tried this beer together.
Casket right here.
It was incredible.
This is so delicious.
All right,
wow.
Actually,
what is this? Tell us about this.
This is the Trappist Rochefort.
Dude, that is smooth.
So good.
Wow. Frothy.
You know what it comes in at? And this might affect the rest of our podcast, but it's 11.3% alcohol.
Well, and what I was going to say about
almost.
that? Do you know the snifters that like really nice bold wines come? I mean, bold beers come in.
Yeah.
That would be a perfect beer to put in a snifter and have like one beer.
Cup?
Yeah, it doesn't have the same finish in a solo cup.
I fill you up.
Solo cup. But this is my favorite beer that we've had thus far.
Let me try it. I haven't tried. Now, this is one of the very smallest. They only have 15 monks at their monastery. Right? So, I mean,
wow.
There's a vocation crisis. If you're a young man and you're listening to us right now, drink this beer, give them a call if you're called to the priesthood or religious life.
Where are they located? In Belgium?
Yeah.
Where the?
Oh my gosh,
that's delicious.
Wow.
I may consider transferring to Bishop. I'm not leaving the Diocese of St. Augustine.
Your bishop's not watching the show.
No, that's probably true. Thank God he's not watching the show. But this is delicious.
They're in a very beautiful monastery. They're in the Abbey of Notre Dame de Saint Remy.
Oh Lord, have mercy. That's awesome.
Lord, this is
they're
so
support
good.
vocation. So that this is an art right here. This is my favorite beer that we've had so far.
Holy moly! This is now.
Trappist,
Rochefort.
Rochefort.
So they have numbers.
So they make three kinds of beers. They make Rochefort 6, Rochefort 8, and Rochefort 10.
We're drinking the 10.
Right. So the difference between them is the alcohol content, the specific gravity of the beers, the temperatures they're brewed at, and it produces a different result. This is Rochefort 10, and my goodness,
it's so flavorful.
It is.
Wow. And light.
It stays on your palate.
Yeah.
And it's thick. It's like
this could be a problem though.
Yeah.
This is
that's 11. Why we drank it last or almost last.
This boy right here is 11.3. That's like drinking wine.
And the fact that you're saying that now, and he's like interested in it. When I said this like 5 minutes ago, means that we need to get an Uber at the end of this talk show.
We're absolutely taking Uber. We're responsible. Don't drink and drive, kids.
No, don't do that.
Wow, this one's really good.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. You got it.
So,
what are you guys going to rate this?
More about the Abbey or anything? Do we have anything else on them? Because this is really, really good.
So there's one more beer left,
like
right? That we're rating
this beer.
So yeah, you want to sip this. You don't want to.
You don't want.
And that's what I mean by like having one glass of this.
Oh
right?
man,
like this is the type of beer it is.
So good.
Rochefort, their monastery goes back at least till 1230.
Wow.
So at least to 1230, it was actually originally founded for Cistercian nuns. And then the nuns were driven out and they were replaced, How
were nuns driven out? They're like, you can't be nuns no more. Yeah, get out of here.
There's wars. There's famine.
Gotcha.
It was abandoned. The monks came back and reclaimed it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Protestant armies destroyed it during the 80 Years' War in 1568 and burnt it to the ground.
Oh, Lord.
Then when they rebuilt it in 1595, that was when the first brewery was founded within the abbey.
Wow. Can you imagine if breweries here were like faced with war? It's like, Bud Light's gone. Where are we going to find this
Bud
again?
Light. I don't think my parents would be too worried about that. But if Coors Light was, I mean, they would be up in arms.
In 1789, what happened in 1789?
Only you know, Ryan Shield. Do you know what happened in 1789?
That's what I do. I drink and I know things. 1789, French Revolution.
Oh yes, that's right.
During the French Revolution, the French Revolutionary
Drink with me.
This is so good.
The French
Is this
Revolutionary.
not delicious.
Let me talk,
Wow.
Drinky McDrinkerson.
No, we're celebrating.
Okay. So the French Revolutionary Army invaded the Netherlands in 1789, and they destroyed the abbey. They confiscated it. They sold it to a private person. The private person destroyed the monastery, crushed it to the ground, turned it into a farm.
That's cold.
That's cold. That's cold-blooded.
This is cold.
It's
But
cold.
Trappist, you cannot keep a good Trappist down. And when the smoke cleared and when all these people died off, they reestablished it in 1887, and the monks went back and they bought the property back after everything cooled down. About 100 years later.
Wow.
Man,
Now-
Trappist monks are.
Yeah.
Monks are heroic. Monks saved Western society.
And
Monasticism is heroic, dude.
Yeah,
like living a monastic life is absolutely heroic.
you can say it's
we're wearing these
monastic or monastic. but
monastic.
I choose monastic.
Yeah, but it's like
monastic.
mono that sense of like monotheism. But like I'm wearing this beautiful wrist bracelet here. Pray for
and
vocations.
you can get that as a gift if you become a donor on
our Patreon app. So
Yeah.
I mean, like, big shout out to monastic orders, of men and women around the world that live that lifestyle, man. That's so impressive and so heroic, and it's beautiful. I've been so privileged to enter into a monastic way of life a number of times in my journey. I've been journeying now with Christ for close to 20 years. And time again, Christ has led me into that monastic way of life, even though it's for a short period of time. And most of my friends are like, there's no way in God's green earth that you wouldn't be able to like live that life every day. But it's gorgeous. And I could, whenever I get a taste of the monastic way, I see that silence. I see that contemplation. I see that oratio. I want to participate in that more.
You just want the beer.
And then the beer at the end of the day, really.
No, but the first time I ever went to a monastery, got there with a friend of mine. He's like, I'm just new Catholic, and he's just like coming in, like knocking on doors, like, where y'all at? We're supposed to be staying here, and this guy answers the door in this, habit, and he's got the hood on, and he opens the door and he just like puts his arm out and he's like, come inside,
dude.
And the presence of God there was like just amazing. It was in
feel it,
Conyers,
right?
Georgia.
Oh, the Monastery of the Holy Spirit.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, dude.
Awesome. Like I could not get away from God while I was there.
Bro.
Like it just completely.
I've got so when I was at Abe and I joined the Diocese of St. Augustine, it was on the Feast of St. Rita. St. Rita lives in Cascia, Italy. That's where her remains are,
Sure.
right? So it's right next to Norcia,
I always thought it was
Italy.
Cascia, and you taught me that it's Cascia.
Cascia.
I have more
you
books
bet
than
Italian.
I have more books than I have friends. So a lot of things I've only read in
Well,
books.
we're your friends, dude.
Eh.
We love you, bro.
He's just
I love
correcting
bro.
you.
Yeah, but I have
love
more
you,
books
bro.
than that. So
So Norcia is right next door to Cascia. So when I was going on pilgrimage to go study Gregorian chant in Salem, France, I had this time in Italy, and I went off by myself to go visit the tomb of Saint Rita. But when I was heading there, this Benedictine sister that I was at Ave Maria with, before God rest her soul, amazing woman, she was like, Richard, you need to go to the birthplace of Benedictine Scholastica in Norcia. So I show up late. I get off the bus. The sun's set. I don't know where I'm staying. I've got a backpack. I don't know where I'm going to stay for the night. I'm walking down the main road. I find this really ritzy hotel, and this is a big shout out to anybody that's traveling on a budget.
You stop there, and you're like, "How much?"
I knew there was no way that I was going to be able to stay there. So like, I drop off my bag at the front desk because you could check a bag for free. So I'm like, "Can I check my bag?" And I wrote my name or whatever, and I went into the main square, and I found the church. So I go up to the door, and it's late. The sun's set, but I'm like, I'm going to go try and pull on the doors. I pull on the doors, and they open. I walk in, nobody's in there. All the lights are off, and I see this flickering light like a candle down the stairs to the tomb. So I went all the way down to the tomb, and I'm spending time in there in prayer. And like I said, nobody's in there. And next thing you know, I hear these footsteps, boom, 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 boom. And like this monk comes in there. I know
this story.
And he's got the hood on and everything. You just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
He's got the hood on. And I look up at him and I'm like, Buonasera.
Posso parlare inglese, per favore?
And then he's like, Buonasera. And then I'm like, that's the extent of my Italian. and he's like, man, that's about the extent of my Italian too. I'm like, oh my God. I said, where are you from? He's like, I'm from Texas. He's like, this is a house of American Benedictine monks. I'm like, no way. He's like, where are you staying tonight?
Darn tootin', Padre.
Darn tootin'. I'm like, I don't have anywhere to stay. And he says, you're going to stay with us. And I got to stay with them for a couple of days. And I got to stay in the monastery and live with them and pray in Latin. And they're like a really traditional conservative community. It was a beautiful experience in Norcia. Big shout out to them. And they went through that horrible earthquake, and they're still recovering. We got to support them.
Yep. Now, they're Benedictines now. Rochefort, their monastery burnt down in 2010.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So every time you drink one of these guys, that helps supporting them.
So the one that's my favorite so far.
So Norcia's actually have
Norcia's
distribution in the United States.
do beer too.
Yeah, what I'm saying is they have distribution in the United States. We got to put links to all these beers.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that's great.
And everything that we do.
I'll talk to monastery greetings and see if they can help us out and to help these people out. So we need to give this one some ratings.
This is my favorite beer so far.
9.
So I think my highest is 8.5 right now. So I'm going to give this
the highest 8.5.
I'm going to give this a 9. It's very good.
0.5?
No, I'm not going to give it a 9.5.
Okay. What about you?
I'm giving this one a 9. This is
excellent.
That was awesome.
Yeah, this was absolutely stellar.
So we gotta like, come on, we gotta go.
Right, so now
listen,
hold on. No, of the 4 beers we sampled, I'm going to give you
now us at a bar right now, not in the podcast studio.
Welcome.
Which is
we got to give a recap of our scores. So we tried Orval, Chimay, Westmalle, and Rochefort.
Yes.
We each gave our own scores. I'm going to give you the total of the scores.
I changed mine.
This is good.
I updated them. Orval, Father, 8.5, 9, 8, for a total score of 25.5. Chimay, 8, 9.5, for a total score of 25.5. Westmalle, 8.25, 8.5, 8. 24.75, so coming in fourth place.
Pretty close.
That was pretty close, but still in fourth place. Rochefort, 999, 27. Rochefort was
by far
our clear winner.
Good.
The clear winner by a considerable amount.
Substantial, yeah.
So
we got
Rochefort,
one more.
10.
We got one more left.
So actually, we have one more little thing. Now, everyone who watches the Catholic Talk Show, you know that on every episode we do the Inquisition.
Yes.
Padre, you're up against it.
Okay.
It's a beer-quisition.
It's the beer-quisition.
Now I'm nervous.
So
you're happy.
Give me this beer. Ryan, give me these 2 beers here. So we got 2 beers. One, a Westmalle actual Trappist triple.
These are 2 triples.
So this is a very holy beer. This is produced by Trappist monks. We got another one called the Devil's Backbone.
It's fake.
It's a Belgian style.
I hope I get this right.
It's better than shame on you.
It is a Belgian style triple. So
hail and brimfire.
Monks.
Okay.
Or the devil.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Now, if you can't guess which one was actually brewed by monks in a monastery.
Okay.
In the beer store, we found something.
It was called crickets.
Actual crickets.
All right.
Yeah.
If you can't guess the right one, You got to eat a.
You put those
You got to eat a
crickets up
salt and
there.
vinegar, a salt and vinegar cricket. Go show that to the camera.
Go show that to everybody. The
Okay,
crickets.
let's open.
This
these
is
up.
real.
This is real. Oh,
Don't drop it. Ooh, that was a nice pop, huh?
Popski.
So let's
No,
just give
no,
him
come
a
on, come on,
taste.
Wait.
All right, we're hiding
All
this
right,
one.
okay, I'm not looking. I'm not
Close your eyes,
looking.
Padre.
Now, but here's the thing. I'm not the only one on the gauntlet here, guys.
Don't look.
I'm not
You're
looking, dude.
looking.
No, I'm not
Are
looking.
you looking at the monitors?
No, I'm
Howard,
not looking
stop
on the monitors.
looking.
How we turn off the monitors?
Okay, listen. If I get this right and I choose what is holy and what is just and what is beautiful, namely that at the craft of these monks, they poured heaven into a cup, and I get it right, who's going to eat the crickets? Ryan Delacroix
It's
or
a guy-
Ryan
Well,
Shield.
I'll tell you
Ryan
what.
Shield.
If you get it right, both Ryans will eat the cricket.
All right,
If you get it
perfect.
wrong,
Ooh.
you eat the cricket.
Now,
Ooh, I like
hold
that.
on. Is this some Princess Bride stuff where you like mix it in with both?
Father, there's two things you
we-
should
You
know.
guys are
Never lie to
conniving. You
Father,
guys are
never lie to
conniving,
you.
dude.
Father,
I
never
know
get
you.
into a land war.
You guys are like my best friends. I know you.
Never get into a land war in Asia. Never get into a battle of wits with the Slovenian.
That was good. That was
right.
good.
But only slightly
Bro, you
less
guys are
well
gonna
known.
pull a slick Rick on me here.
What you do not know is both are filled with iocane powder. All right.
You filled it with the same
Oh,
beer.
quit acting like you're a beer sommelier or something like that.
Sommelier.
Yeah, whatever. I just
Sommelier.
did that.
And I've
That was
never
a
had
short
either of
version.
these beers, so I've got to
but, hey,
select
but you got to keep them in hands
left and
because,
right.
Yeah,
Okay. And I've got to select the
you've
holy
chosen
one.
correctly.
I didn't even choose yet.
I know. I was just being the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Come on. Let's do this. Okay. Gosh,
Okay.
why did that look so hard? Please do the other one. Please.
Don't rush me,
We have
dude.
people listening to
Delacroix,
podcasts.
I understand.
People listening to
I don't want to
podcasts.
eat a cricket,
They're not
bro.
watching the
Padre,
YouTube
they got to
right
get
now.
back to work.
I don't want to eat a cricket,
Golly,
dude.
You're really serious with this?
Would you just give me time, please?
just drink it? What do you think?
Which one is Trappist and which one is the devil's backbone?
All right.
Triple
all right.
Let me see
Belgian
those.
ale.
I'm going to say, did y'all put a cricket in here?
No,
No,
sir.
no.
No,
we were
Father,
eating the
we'll do
I'm
crickets.
going to say the left is the right choice.
The
The left is the Trappist beer.
yes, we are not drinking or eating.
The left was the devil's backbone.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let me
How
taste
did y'all
this.
fool me?
Oh, yeah.
Let me taste that one.
Let me see this one.
I'm gonna see if you're right or
you
wrong,
guys.
or if
So-
you're bad at this.
So this
are
one is the
terrible.
devil's backbone. It's actually it's only brewed in
Dude.
Texas. It's by the Real Ale Brewing Company. A little shout out to you guys. Nice beer, but also
It's tasty.
it's very good beer. So
it's
Padre,
tasty. It's not rich.
It's not luxuriant. It's
Well,
not
Father
holy.
Rich
It's
is
not-
about to eat some crickets right now.
Yeah.
Salt and vinegar crickets.
Can we get a close up of him eating a cricket?
Howard, can you zoom in on this? Let's do a little zoom ski on Padre here.
Crickets, cricketices.
Oh, dude.
Crickets.
Thank goodness it has some sodium in it.
A lot of sodium.
All
I've
right.
got
This is
4.3
this is really a Catholic talk show first, and probably only time that you're ever going to see on a podcast a priest eating crickets, unless you were talking about the sustenance practices of St. John the Baptist. And that's what I was talking about.
And he lost a bet.
Lord.
Yeah.
So,
So I've gotta-
you
okay.
shouldn't gamble,
Here.
Father Rich.
So, but in fairness, I'm going to give you the proper Trappist beer to wash it down with.
Okay.
So here, show that to the camera.
Oh, joy to the world of all the fishes in the deep blue sea.
Don't drop the
It's
cricket.
alive.
Okay, it's alive. All right, here we go.
And this was just because
Padre. Good sport.
Hey, man, I'm all for it.
Oh, it's so crunchy.
the whole thing.
Chew it in the mic so they can hear crunchy. Oh, dude, that's awful.
Hey, by the way, we were just joking.
Oh, you guys are terrible human
You
beings.
did not know. We're reasonable human beings. We just played a joke on you.
Well, you paid up. But so what do you guys think? Trappist beers? Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy more.
I need to buy more. I would love to support the brothers, man.
Yeah.
You know, like instead of buying beer and
Especially the Rochefort, their
I tell you
whole thing
what.
burned down.
this beer right here is definitely my favorite.
It's good.
Trappist Rochefort.
Yeah, and your least favorite is probably the one that you did not get right.
No, dude, my least favorite are these crickets right here. Okay, that's my least favorite. Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought this was a pretty cool episode. I mean, the Trappist monks and the monastic communities, that you have the ability to support them financially, to support their spiritual works, to support their charitable works, and have a beer out of the equation is something that's just, look, there's very few opportunities in this world to get something so win-win, and that you should take advantage of this. We'll put some links to each of the monasteries and their breweries so you can find them, different ways to find these beers, but support these monasteries because as Catholics, I mean, the more that we can get this solidarity with the local producers and with the monastic orders, the better we are.
Yeah.
And honestly, these are great beers. And like I said, I think the Trappist Rochefort 10 was the clear winner of this.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and they some of them need help. They've been stricken by a lot of natural disasters and things like that.
Mm-hmm. This is a way you can help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And a way that you can help us, guys, as we continue this awesome show is to continue to support us with patreon.com/Catholic Talk Show and to connect with us on social media. Make sure that you're connecting with us on www.catholictalkshow.com. This gives you all of the ways that you can connect. So if it's just audio, if you're listening in as you're driving to work or even at the workplace, if that's cool with your boss, check us out on Stitcher and Spotify and
YouTube,
iTunes. We're on all of those places. Google Play.
And make sure you're following us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
Roku. Just joking. I don't know if we're on Roku.
We are.
But we're Apple TV, Catholic TV. We're across the board. We're there. So
we're at the library.
We're at the library. Check us like way in the back though in the library.
Probably find us at the bar after this within the bar. But look, hey guys, I really enjoyed. I mean, we had 6 beers and we split them.
This was a blast.
But this was really cool, and it's something that I've been wanting to be able to do with you guys for a while. So this was a really excellent episode. And seriously, go out and support your monastic communities. Anytime that you can find a way to support the Catholic Church through the consumptions of goods produced by religious, it is a complete win. So stay new to your pets,
and take a look at that domain that Sheil is putting up on the pages as well, because that's a way to support them. There's so much out there, so make sure that you're connecting with what our brothers and sisters are doing in these various monasteries, because get to know it and support it. So we want to wish all of our viewers and all of our friends a very beautiful evening. Hopefully you've enjoyed a little bit with us tonight. And to the Trappists, Rochefort, who won, and all the other respective breweries, we wish you the very, very best.
See you next time. Nostrovia.
Nostrovia.